Take two.
Take two. Trying again.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Fellowship of Joy YouTube channel and check out our website at fellowshipofjoy.ca.
Welcome back. We had some technical difficulty. We would have been on time, but we couldn't get the program to load. So, tonight we are continuing our Advent-ure in Luke. What are you doing with the fishing pole, bro?
Is that the fishing pole?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just looked behind it and I saw it.
The other half of it's up top there with that other one. There's a couple of them.
Oh.
Old cane poles. You never know what you're gonna find in this here office. Maybe a squirrel. You know what? I seen Elon Musk said that squirrels are like cigarettes. They are completely harmless unless you put them in your mouth and try to light them on fire.
Why are you...
No, seriously, real video I seen tonight. Anyways, tonight we are continuing our adventure in Luke. We're reading from Luke chapter 9. What are you doing now? Like, that's a screwdriver bit. Put it back.
You're no fun.
Whatever.
It's true.
What are you doing?
Just start.
Adventure in Luke. Luke chapter 9. When Jesus had called the 12 together, he gave them power and authority to drive out all demons and cure disease. And he sent them out to proclaim the kingdom of God and heal the sick. And he told them, take nothing for your journey, no staff, no bag, no bread, no money, no extra shirt. Whatever house you enter, stay there until you leave that town. If people do not welcome you, leave their town. Shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. So they set out and went from village to village, proclaiming the good news and healing people everywhere. Herod the Tetrarch heard about all that was going on and was perplexed, because some were saying that John had been raised from the dead, others that Elijah had appeared, still others that one of the prophets of long ago had come back to life. But Herod said, I beheaded John. Who then is this I hear such things about? And he tried to see him. When the apostles returned, they reported to Jesus what they had done. Then he took them with him and withdrew by themselves to a town called Bethsaida. But the crowd learned about it and followed him, and he welcomed them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God and healed those who needed healing. Late in the afternoon, the 12 came to him and said, send the crowd away, so they can go to the surrounding villages and countryside and find food and lodging, because we're in a remote place here. He replied, you give them something to eat. They answered, we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, unless we go and buy food for all this crowd. About 5,000 men were there. But he said to his disciples, have them sit down in groups of about 50 each. The disciples did so, and everyone sat down, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke them. Then he gave them to the disciples to distribute to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets full of broken pieces that were left over. Once, when Jesus was praying in private, and his disciples were with him, he asked them, who do the crowd say I am? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others one of the prophets of long ago has come back to life. But what about you? He asked. Who do you say I am? Peter answered, God's Messiah. Jesus strictly warned them not to tell this to anyone, and he said the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and teachers of the law. He must be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised to life. Then he said to them all, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. And whoever wants to save their lives will lose it, but whoever loses their lives will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet lose or forfeit their very self? Whoever is ashamed of me, in my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his glory, and in the glory of the Father, and of the holy angels. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the kingdom of God." About 8 days later, Jesus said this. He took Peter, John, and James with him, and they went up onto a mountain to pray. And as they were praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became as bright as a flash of lightning. 2 men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in the glorious splendor, talking with Jesus. They spoke about the departure which he was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men standing with him. The men were leaving Jesus. Peter said to him, "Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up some shelters. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He did not know what he was saying. While he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. A voice came from the cloud, saying, "This is my son, whom I have chosen. Listen to him." When the voice had spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen. The next day, when they came down from the mountain, a large crowd met them. A man in the crowd called out, "Teacher, I beg you to look at my son, for he is my only child. A spirit seizes him, and he suddenly screams, and it throws him into convulsions, so that he foams at the mouth. It scarcely ever leaves him, and is destroying him. I begged your disciples to drive it out, but they could not." "You unbelieving and perverse generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you and put up with you? Bring your son here." And while the boy was coming, the demon threw him on the ground in a convulsion. But Jesus rebuked the impure spirit, healed the boy, and gave him back to his father. And they were all amazed at the greatness of God. While everyone was marveling at what Jesus did, he said to his disciples, "Listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men." But they did not understand what this meant. It was hidden from them, so they did not grasp it, and they were afraid to ask him about it. An argument started among the disciples as to which of them would be the greatest. Jesus, knowing their thoughts, took a little child and had him stand beside him. Then he said to them, "Whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For it is the one who is least among you all who is the greatest." "Master," said John, "we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he's not one of us." "Do not stop him," Jesus said, "for whoever is not against you is for you." As the time approached for him to be taken up to heaven, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. And he sent messengers ahead of him who went to the Samaritan villages to get things ready for him. But the people there did not welcome him because he was heading for Jerusalem. When the disciple James and John saw this, they asked, "Lord, do you want us to call down fire from heaven and destroy them?" But Jesus turned and rebuked them, and he and his disciples went to another village. As they were walking along the road, a man said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." He said to another man, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." And Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God." Still another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me go back and say goodbye to my family." And Jesus replied, "No one who puts hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God." Any questions? No?
No.
I got questions. Question 1. Jesus tells his disciples they got to pick up their cross and follow him, alright? This was before Jesus died on a cross.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have weirded him out a little bit?
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. I always wondered about that one because like the timing's weird on that, right? Jesus tells his disciples some of them will never die before they see the kingdom of heaven. I think they're all dead. So do you think that was referring to the transfiguration on the mountain?
Hmm.
I think so.
What, the transfigure what now?
When Jesus went up and Moses and Elijah were hanging out with him and he was as white as lightning,
Maybe.
I think that was what he was talking about.
Some of them just kind of vanished.
No, they were all put to death.
Oh, eventually?
Yeah, pretty well. They were all martyred. They were all killed for their faith.
Ah.
Yeah. Yep.
Wasn't there one of them who just kind of took up one?
That was Elijah.
So I knew there was somebody.
That was Elijah.
I knew there was somebody who like basically just vanished.
He didn't just vanish, but whatever.
Nobody knew what happened to him.
Oh, that's Moses. Nobody knew what happened to him. Elijah was a chariot of fire came and took him to heaven, and it was witnessed by Elisha.
Oh.
Moses went up to the mountain to die, and his body was never recovered.
Oh.
But the Bible does say he died.
Hmm.
Now you've made me lose my... Oh. Should we call down fire from heaven and destroy them?
That's a little extreme.
I think that's Elijah as well. He did that. So, that's where that came from. It came from one of the prophets, anyways.
Huh.
Remember when we were doing our First Kings reading back when we were doing the moment of joy? Oh, it was one of those First Kings, Second
I
Kings.
barely remember yesterday's
somewhere in
podcast.
there. Anyways, yeah. I think that's where they got the idea from. Is from the prophets. So that's kind of cool. But there's some very cool things that went on in that chapter. So if anybody else has any questions or thought anything else was neat, put it in the comments and we'll deal with them tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow evening at 8:30 as we continue our Advent-ure in Luke. Goodbye.